There is a serious issue in gaming when it comes to journalists and content creators behaving ethically. I'm not even sure where the line is anymore between who is and is not a journalist and what is news and is not news. If we go by total viewers, more people get their news from watching Twitch than they do from watching CNN. Content creators have increasingly massive influence. That's probably why we call them influencers. However, what laws are in place to regulate them, like sponsorships, are rarely enforced, if ever. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission has been listing prohibited activity by influencers and companies since 2011. And so far, no American influencer has been charged for their criminal activity. The most we've seen was some warning letters sent out in 2017 surrounding the CSGO lotto scam. So why am I talking about this today? Well, two main reasons. First, the MasterCard podcast had a lot of you talking about journalistic integrity, and while I do not see myself as a journalist, I was questioning what more I can do as a creator to do a better job serving you all ethically. And the second thing was these press kits that were sent out for Metaphor v Fantasio. Different versions were sent out depending on where content creator lived, but they were all amazing and were all also very expensive. Unfortunately, many creators who posted about receiving these press kits failed to meet the minimum declaration requirements that exist throughout the world. The bar is just so low. All it takes is saying, hey, I got this thing for free. Most countries are even okay with a creator just putting in #ad, which is both depressing and hilarious at the same time. And this doesn't even take into account the massive financial advantage that a content creator gets from having a game sooner than the public. Ask Kotaku how much not getting advance copies from Nintendo cost their business. So while I don't accept games or private builds or keys from developers, I was asking myself if there was anything that I could do better. So in this video, I'm going to try to cover the errors that I have made in the past, things that I am actively working on to be a better creator, and maybe even talk about some of the things that I have hopefully improved upon. Unfortunately, I expect that I will keep doing things wrong in the future, so this may end up being a recurring event. There is some censorship stuff that I am going to talk about involving YouTube, so some of this will be tricky to dance around, and I apologize in advance if I come off as too vague.
You're also recovering from a cold, so...
Yeah, you can really hear it, can you?
Well, that's why you were going to record this like a week ago.
Yeah, I know.
But
And
you've been like...
yeah, at least I can get through sentences this time. Last time I was I had a coughing fit.
This has been a tough rainy season. Everybody seems to be sick everywhere. So.
I know. So I don't feel alone in this.
So we're talking about errors.
Yes, we're going to talk about errors.
It's interesting because journalists do this. And you say you're not a journalist, but I am not aware of anyone other than journalists doing this. And it used to be you issue a correction or a retraction or whatever. And I just think it's interesting you're so fixated on this because you say you're not a journalist and then you're bending over backwards to make this thing to set yourself on fire and say, look at all the things I've done wrong. So that's interesting. It's either either integrity or narcissism, maybe a little of both.
Oh, don't say that. I try really hard not to be narcissistic.
I think that part of being a content creator
there is a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think it's required. I mean, I think that to the hubris to say, to imply my voice may be important enough out of the billions on the planet to put it out there. There is at least a kernel of narcissism.
All right.
That
All right. Okay, I can see that. I can see that.
All right. So let's talk about the errors.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the thing that happened in my October Steam video. It's where I called Taboo University a sequel as opposed to correctly identifying it as a prequel.
Even though you've called it a prequel, like how many other times?
I think like 4 times. I looked back at the other videos. I called it a prequel in the Steam Next Fest June 2024 video, my 2023 list of college games on Steam video, my Fetish Locator Week 3 video, and I even called it like a sort of prequel in my top new Patreons of 2022 video.
Oh,
But I did I did screw up and I called it a sequel. So, that's the problem with being held accountable. It doesn't matter how many times that I may do it right. It still doesn't change the fact that I did do it wrong in this case. And it is probably worse because I made this mistake when I was also being critical of the game's success compared to the previous series. But I do want to apologize to you all, and my apologies to the developer ViNovella.
That's fair. I mean, I think that you do try to go over your scripts and go over what you're researching. And I think in your graphic for the MasterCard, I think you spelled acquirer wrong.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you have that in the list of things.
No, I don't. See, I told you, I'm going to miss things.
I think spelling mistakes are, unless it was
okay, yeah, I have had spelling mistakes on, some thumbnails before.
Oh, and titles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to happen, and those you can fix. I think there's a difference between a grammatical error.
Yeah, and this kind of error. Yeah.
And I think you're going to actually talk about pronunciation later on.
Yes, I am.
So if we make it that far, depending on your voice.
I think I can make it through. Okay. It just won't be that long. And I have dropped the ball like this before. When I made
using sports jargon. I'm so proud.
It's hard not doing it's hard not using the same kind of language when I spend time with you.
So this is my fault.
Yeah, now I say dude, and I had never said dude before.
Dude is gender neutral.
Yeah.
It's like best girl.
Exactly, and that's why I use it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And so I started using it. And my friends were just like, why are you saying that now? I'm like, okay. But this happened when I made the video games on GOG that were banned by Steam, and that was back in February of 2023. And I actually had Kagura Games reach out to me, and they informed me that, and these are their words, we aren't the publisher for Dual Princess or Secret Kiss is Sweet and Tender. Just thought we would let you know. Thanks. They were very nice with that. So I did post a public retraction on Patreon about it, but let's be honest, was that the place where most people would have seen it? No. I will say I was a weasel and, sneaking my retraction in all quiet and I should be better, and I apologize.
That is interesting because I think you were talking about people having trouble publishing on Steam, and even Kagura had been banned.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that Kagura hasn't had the problem on Steam. It's just in these two games, which are available on Kagura's platform.
Yeah, it was really hard. It's
like, where are you a developer and where are you a publisher?
Exactly.
And where are you a localization?
Exactly. And so I that was my fault, and I will say, but it was hard. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't see that. But, while we're at it, I do have an affiliate relationship with GOG, and I have it listed on every video I've made since that relationship started. Have I made any money from it? I sure wish, but I still declare it.
Yeah.
And I do also try to bring it up when I talk specifically about GOG, because it's not just a legal thing. It's because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So I think it's an affiliate thing. So if they click on the link and then they end up buying the game,
then
in a perfect world, you might.
Then I might get
some
a
point
little
in the
crumb.
future.
I might get a little crumb of what.
That's not really an issue when you have 60,000 subs, and they reached out to you way before that.
Oh
and
yeah,
I guess they were like, we think your channel is going to be huge eventually. Why don't we start the relationship now?
Yeah, eventually. 3 years later. No, I'm thankful. And the final clear mistake that I want to talk about is from the After 1177 BC and What It Means to Our Industry podcast. We talked about a lot of different things on that, and the author, Eric Klein, did post on YouTube in the comments, and he said, "Many thanks for devoting this segment to my book. Really interesting discussion. Only one comment. We did actually publish the social network analysis of the Amarna letters, but in a conference volume. If anyone is interested, I can send them a copy or direct them to where to find it online. Cheers, and thanks again, EHC. So it was actually my mother who had
Mom under the bus.
said that it hadn't been. But, in my mom's defense, I don't think it had been published at the time my parents went to see it talked about.
It was not.
So, yeah, but I did fail to fact check her before I published the video. But, to be honest, given everything that we talked about, I am amazed that was the only error that he had or that he found.
Yeah, that's actually where I learned about social network matrices.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a fascinating emerging field, discipline. I don't know what to call it yet. And
it's one of those new things
yeah,
where they don't have a name for it yet.
It's Diane Klein, who recently passed from cancer, unfortunately.
Yes.
She actually used this in multiple places, historical research. She also used it with the United States for crime prevention and other things. So I think this is one of those things, as we figure it out better, we're going to find a lot of interesting uses for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was eventually published. I didn't look into it. I didn't know. I didn't know that was Mom was going to bring that up. So
yeah. But nonetheless, my bad. Thanks, Mom. But you brought this up before. Speaking of things I have limited control over, I want to talk about my accent.
Okay.
And it sounds even worse with my sickness.
Recovering.
Yeah, my recovering sickness. So I try really hard to pronounce things correctly, and I think I've gotten way better at it over the past 3 years. But I am still from a rural part of the southern United States.
And you debated with me on if it counted as rural or not. It counts as rural. If you
guess.
have to argue
But
if
when
it's
you
rural
say, when
or
I say,
not,
yeah,
that means it's rural.
Well, when people say like rural southern United States, they think like Florida or Louisiana.
Nobody thinks Florida when they think of rural southern United States.
Really?
Nobody thinks of
Okay,
Florida.
then what do they think of?
They think of, Appalachia.
Oh, okay.
They think of tobacco fields. They think of where you totally fall in. So I don't this is nonsense, okay?
Okay, fine. I'll admit, yes, I am from a rural part of the southern United States. And that means that I even have trouble speaking American sometimes, let alone foreign languages like English. So please keep on correcting me when I mispronounce things or say something wrong, even if it's a lame thing, like the difference between bullet hell and bullet heaven.
Are you still butthurt about that?
I am. and everybody in the comments, when I make that mistake, reminds me of that.
And then they try to explain, but they don't all say bullet heaven. They say different things, and it's like...
Yeah, it bugged me so much that I did have to look up.
You did a deep dive on it.
I looked up what bullet heaven is, and
it's Vampire Survivors, right?
I mean, I guess
right.
I would have to look at. I haven't looked at pictures.
This is
of
your
Vampire
hill to die
Survivors.
on, I guess. So, I have no horse in this thing. This is not Gaston revisited. So,
okay, fine. But I did want to talk about bullet heaven and like what it is, because look, I think I've been scarred by these people.
Is this like 4 people and you are taking it way out of context?
Probably.
This might be one of those things that you just may need to let go.
No. I have researched this, and I now know what a bullet heaven is.
Oh,
and
sure.
I will use that correctly, hopefully, later on in future videos.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, a bullet heaven is a reverse bullet hell. And so it's kind of like an auto shooter. And so when you generate the bullets around you, it creates, in my view, kind of like a halo. And that's why, listen, I know it's probably called a bullet heaven because it's the reverse of a bullet hell, and the reverse of hell is heaven. But to be honest, I like the halo thing. It's like, oh, it's a halo because it's heaven, Anyways, so I would categorize Kagura Survivors Endless Night as a bullet heaven, and then I'll show pictures of that. And then the Subverse minigame, the bullet that's a bullet hell.
Okay.
Yeah, or like Endless Forest Dream, that's a bullet hell.
Okay.
So hopefully, going forward, I will be able to tell the difference.
And the 4 people that care about this
exactly.
Are gonna disagree with you anyway, so you can't win this.
Okay.
This is like talking about politics. Why would you do that?
Oh, fine. Well, maybe they'll become patrons.
Okay.
A Patreon plug right here. So I do want to talk about now something that many of you have been bringing up to me recently, and that is the difference in the format of some of my videos now versus a few years ago. So, for example, I used to list all of the flavors that a game contained, but unfortunately, that is no longer allowed by YouTube. So I have tried to adapt to the changing rules of our alphabet overlords. So I try to imply flavors as well as talk around certain themes. Like in my Halloween video, I said that Flip Witch was a side-scrolling transformation monster mash, which pretty much tells you what you need to know as I'm showing you gameplay footage. So I'm hoping that as I'm talking about that and as I show, I guess in this case it would be transformation and monsters, that you guys can make the decision if that game is worth looking up.
So you're trying to still convey flavors. It's just that there's so many additional rules and things that you have to deal with that you're trying to find ways to do it within the rules.
Yeah. But the reality remains is that I am still sharing less information about flavors, and I think you all can imagine how bad I feel about that, and I am truly sorry. But speaking of censorship, I want to talk about dinosaur censorship.
Using dinosaurs to censor, not censoring dinosaurs.
Yes. Censoring dinosaurs. I have had to do that.
Well, no, the dinosaur originated from having to censor dinosaurs, so there you go.
So, all right. But no, I want to talk about dinosaurs helping with the censorship.
Are they helping?
They have so far. But some people have brought it up that I censor many images that are not naked.
Broaded.
What did I say?
You said broaded.
I told you.
Just making up words.
No, I'll keep it in so people believe me. Some people have brought up
broaded.
that
I like broaded.
That I censor many images that are not naked, and this is true. YouTube does not like cleavage or butts or hips and a whole lot of other fully clothed stuff. So I have learned to censor what YouTube seems to hate. And I still make mistakes, like when I included a fully clothed image of the main character from Butt Night in my last Steam Next Fest video, and I still got in trouble with YouTube for violating their policy on nudity.
And it was fully clothed, but...
Yeah, it was fully clothed, but I think they saw something I didn't.
Well, you've gotten age-gated on things where the person's been in like yoga pants and bent over and things like that. So it could just be that it's kind of like if you look at Steam, any anime game has a nudity tag, even if there's no nudity to it.
Yeah.
So I think that different people have a different idea about what is and is not naked, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it is. So, like, for example, if a woman has a shirt on, but you can still see her nipples through it, like, yeah, she is fully clothed, but I'm still going to have to censor that.
There is also...
Or just avoid it.
There's also the reality that what YouTube allows with actual humans seems to be more permissible than what YouTube allows with animated characters and DAZ models, and Twitch is like that. What Twitch allows from a live entertainer is different than what Twitch allows from Iron Mouse.
Yeah, because she's a VTuber. Yeah. But also, going back to Flip Witch, I don't know if you guys noticed it on my last video, or whenever I talked about Flip Witch last. I basically used all of the footage that I had where I was a boy instead of a girl. And
because of the cleavage?
Yeah, because of how the girl was animated and her clothes. And I felt really bad about doing that and I had this problem with Endless Forest Dream. I couldn't show her, so I had to dinosaur her the entire time. And I feel really bad when I have to do that because one, that, takes away from, I feel like it takes away from the game, but it is also the game. Like, I can't show anything else.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad.
It's an imperfect situation, and you're going to continue to try to find ways to be compliant with YouTube and Patreon while still informing the public as you can.
Yeah. So in the future, expect to see more dinosaur censorship. But, at least this means that you all will see new dinosaur art emerge with time.
It's interesting to me because your mom and I have seen the evolution in the different variations of the dinosaur.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's just we're just curious to see where it's going to emerge next.
I don't know. I feel I wonder if I'll bring this up on the Patreon page, or maybe I'll just bring it up now because I want to move. I want to move further with my art, but I don't know in which direction. Like, if I want to stay with, like, just the stills of the character in, like, one position, or if I want to... I mean, I have experimented with other things, like other forms of the dinosaur, like a more realistic form, like the cyberpunk one.
Yeah, and the Diablo one.
The Diablo one is interesting. It's more on the cartoony side, but it does have realistic elements. I just meant
it was different, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it is still in that, like, one form.
I'm not going to even pretend to understand art.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't know.
We need your mom for that conversation.
Yeah.
Us at the art gallery is me holding coats and trying to sit somewhere and accidentally... worried it's an installation that I'm going to try to sit on. No, this chair is the subject. It shows the emptiness of reality.
I saw this TikTok where this girl took off her shoe and she put it in, like, the center of an art exhibit, and people were walking around the shoe and looking at it like, oh, look at this shoe. It's brilliant. And they were taking pictures of it, and it was like, it was really funny. Anyways, I am actually still struggling with titles of games and timestamps in videos. So YouTube has this whole array, this whole list of words that they hate, and it's honestly hard to keep up with sometimes. But I want you all to be able to easily find the games that I talk about, and unfortunately YouTube does not allow linking to age-gated games. So that's why I provide everything on Patreon for free. Unfortunately, I still get many questions in the comments asking for the name of the game and links to it, even though every time at the beginning of the video, literally before I get to any of the games, I say, also, and all of the links can be found for free on my Patreon. Literally every video.
I think that may be a translation issue.
I don't know, maybe. Just like it's before every game. It's like in the first minute.
Because only about half of your audience is English speaking.
I know.
So mostly American, and then Canadians and Brits and Australians, and but then you got the Germans who are up there.
yeah. So this is definitely one of those works in progress things, and if you guys can think of a better way to do this, then please let me know.
I mean, you could always just cover more mainstream games.
Okay, that is true. If you look at the response when I do cover mainstream games like Inzoi or Baldur's Gate 3, I really should be spending more time covering those. It's just I'm never sure which game to cover. So, like, I do usually look at the schedule for releases of mainstream games ahead of time, and I see if I can connect those to the channel's message. And if they do, then I can make a video. Like, it made sense why I made a video about Inzoi.
Yeah.
And it made sense why I made a video about Baldur's Gate 3. Because, they either aligned with my channel's message or with the adult game space.
You're also the one making up all these rules, so...
Okay. Oh.
It's kind of like when you do your end-of-year lists, and you talk about to me all the statistics you use and all the math, and I'm just like, most people just make this up as they go along.
Well, all right. Fair. That's fair.
And you do cover a lot of games. They're just mostly on Patreon.
Yeah, they're mostly for the exclusive
videos. Yeah.
Patreon videos. Yeah, like the monthly updates. And those usually don't have anything to do with the channel. They're just games that I like to play. But the good news is that I will have more to talk about regarding mainstream games in a few months. And I will definitely be expanding my coverage of both mainstream and adult games to some live events starting in the fall of 2025.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
We're going to take it slow. We're going to see how you do.
Emphasis on some.
Getting you out of the house, we'll see how it goes.
Fine. I mean, I think it'll be fun. Can I talk about the thing that I want to go to?
Yeah, you can talk about whatever you want. I don't care.
Okay,
This is your channel. I'm a mushroom sitting over here.
You are.
I'm in the dark being fed shit.
Jesus Christ. Okay. You do have chocolate with you.
I do. So. I have my chocolate from America. I'm so happy. I've got my Hershey's bars with almonds.
You guys don't know how
much of a candy snob I am.
Yeah, he can only have chocolate from America
or Japan.
Yeah.
Chinese chocolate, Malaysian chocolate, most of the places that make chocolate.
Yeah, because they just taste different, and you're used to the American or.
No, I'm used to. I can eat European chocolate too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like which ones?
Because
you usually like Hershey.
Hershey. Because I'm a hillbilly. You can't get much more American. It's Hershey, Pennsylvania. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I'm the only one in the house that'll eat them.
I never went how you can take a trip with your kids. Not you with your kids.
Yeah, take a trip with my kids.
No. You know how you can take a school trip to the Hershey park? I never did that.
Yeah, well, you didn't live close enough.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's true. So I lost where I was. We were talking about chocolate. Okay, so I do want to bring up the Tokyo Game Show. That's one of the ones that I'm going to go to next year. And I think it'll be fun. I think I'm going to go during the Creator Day. And I think that's the first
crowd.
Yeah, that's the less crowded one. I've seen videos of like the public one, and I don't know. Those crowds are crowding. I couldn't do it.
And you saw who was there? Mango Party and
I
other
saw
developers.
Yeah, on one video we saw they had Mango Party, and I recognized them because they had the games X Angels and the new Taiwan Love one, like Taiwan Love Story.
I have no idea.
I
know they're a Taiwanese company. That's all I know.
Yeah, I know it was that one though. But yeah, I saw them and I was like, oh my god.
I think there is an overlap between your demographic and what is shown at the Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah, I think
not
so.
as much as a Kami Kid, but Kami Kid is.
No.
That is.
I think I'll have to warm up to that one. I don't know if I could do that the first year.
Maybe the winter one, so it won't be an oven. It'll still be crowded.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I do not think I could do it during summer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a no-go.
You could cosplay as like a hedgehog with like a porcupine, so nobody could get near you. So you had like a halo of space, and nobody would know who you are. Because your red hair does stand out in Japan.
Yeah, it really does. I've wondered if I could just wear a hood, or maybe, or just like a big hat. No, that's even worse. I don't know. I'm just gonna stand out. Maybe I'll dye my hair. Yeah, I've never dyed my hair. I don't think I would look good with any other color than red.
Your siblings have.
Well, that's true. But they don't have my red hair.
I know.
So I don't think I would look good with any other color. Anyways, back to what we were talking about.
I have no idea what we were talking about.
I don't even know anymore.
Tokyo Game Show.
Tokyo Game Show. Yes, I will be there next year, hopefully. If everything goes right. But anyways, I do want to talk about the individual game reviews. Mm-hmm. So when I started in 2021, I made 67 individual game reviews, which is a lot. As of right now, only 33 of those are completed, and of the other 34 unfinished games, many of them will likely never be completed.
And that's 33 completed according to developers, and some of those were even rushed completions.
Exactly. But covering individual games, I feel like I am letting you all down when I get you excited about a game, and then that game fails to finish. So I have over the years become more cautious about which games I've covered. So in 2022, I made 45 individual game reviews where 30 are now completed. And then in 2023, 25 games with 15 completed, which is a smaller percentage, but it is also a year sooner, which means less development time.
Yeah, because you mean they're completed as of right now.
Yeah, so, by the end of the year, who knows?
And even
20 might be completed.
I think a fast development in this space is probably, 3 years?
I think 3 or 4 years is like a good...
6 to 7 seems to be a more normal...
yeah. Yeah. But, I am much more willing to cover a game in development in a list format than as a individual review. However, this summer I did cover a couple of Kickstarter games, so this is still something that I am working on, so please continue to let me know how you feel about those. What are those Kickstarter games? VR Kanajo.
Yeah, VR Kanajo, which has already been delayed into next year.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It makes me... When I saw that, I was so mad.
But given that those were seasoned developers, they've already vastly exceeded their goal. I think it is realistic to expect that of them, because it's not like with Studio Fow, where Studio Fow raised all that money and they were animators.
Yeah.
And they weren't game developers. So they had to go find game development people, figure out how to make... If they were making just another movie or another series of animations...
Yeah, it would be easy for them.
Yeah. And so they thought it'd be out way sooner than it would be, and maybe it'll be out this year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah,
they keep saying.
What month is it? October? Yeah, so they got two more months.
And they have said that it's not going to be it's only going to be in English, though, and all the translations are going to come later.
Listen.
And you asked them about that.
I did. I asked them about that on Twitter.
You asked them about Chinese language support, Mandarin, traditional, simplified, and because they said something a couple years ago, and then they didn't say anything in this latest announcement. You were like, hey, did you forget that? Yeah. Because that's why the scores were so bad initially.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why it's still mixed on Steam.
Oh, is it up to? It was horrible for a while, but I think Steam has a feature where if they say the reviews don't count, you can factor them out. I don't know if they count as not counting, but yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah, it really was.
Maybe Subverse will come out this year.
Maybe, hopefully. And then the other one was Vampire Syndicate. That was the other Kickstarter one.
Oh, but that was from... You really liked their first game?
Yeah.
I don't know,
what
dude.
Was it called? Memoirs of a Battle Brothel.
I don't know if that game's ever going to come out. That game is promising so much.
I know.
It's like they're going to give you Vampire the Masquerade, and they're going to give you Shadowrun. And, oh, by the way, we're also going to give you sex, too. So that is so much on a plate. I don't see how they're going to get done, and... I'd love to see it. It'd be awesome.
Oh yeah,
It'd be great.
Prove us wrong.
But
I would love that.
You need millions and millions of dollars and a team, and that game did not raise that. So we'll just see.
Yeah, we'll just see. Hopefully in the future.
Talking about this in 3 years. I'm sorry I covered those Kickstarters. I let you guys down. Foreshadowing.
But yeah, let me know if you like me having those kinds of videos out. Talking about upcoming really cool games, because I'll keep making those kinds of videos, and if you don't like them and you think
they're just not going to watch them. So.
Yeah, well, okay, that's true.
you know which are the videos that people respond to or not.
Well, all right, that's true.
A thumbnail or a title might impact views, but one video gets 100,000 views. One video gets 8,000 views. I think we can. I think we can read the writing on the wall.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think this video will get a lot of views.
The podcast ones don't, but the podcast ones allow you to go into a degree of depth that while most people want brevity and most people want short and the lists, and they like that, but there is a strong portion of people who do want to see a greater conversation, talk about things a little bit more nuanced. Like, could you have done the MasterCard video in 3 or 5 minutes like a standard video.
No.
I think you would have missed so much of the
Yeah, that one
nuance.
I had to be able to ramble about because there was just so much.
I don't even think you rambled that much. I think you were really clear. You had a really good flow chart, and we talked about a couple things. We tried to keep it light because it was I was shocked how well it's done, given how dry the
given how like corporate it sounded.
Yeah, it was like, but people feel it's just like when you talk about AI, people feel very, very strongly about that.
Yeah.
And I think both formats allow for, now somebody could argue you should have a separate channel for something like that, and maybe you will in the future.
Yeah.
Because this channel will never be commercially viable given what you talk about. So if you are going to do mainstream games, live events, things like that are much more easily marketable, putting that on a separate channel would be in your financial interest. But there are a lot of things that in your financial interest that you have chosen not to do for integrity reasons, for ethical reasons, So, I mean, it's up to you how you want to run your business.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and finally, I want to thank you all for being a part of this community. So many of you are passionate and outspoken and genuinely awesome. Out of the 60,000 subscribers that I have, there seem to be 60,000 very different voices, which is both awesome and a little terrifying. This channel is built on the idea that we have more in common with each other than we don't. We all love video games, and while each of us likes different flavors, I think we would rather be able to enjoy ourselves in a safe and healthy way than have some authority or religious group or credit card company dictate what kinds of fiction adults are allowed to consume. So thank you so much for being part of Sex Positive Gaming. I promise that I will keep working to make this channel better while I also work to become a better human. I have so much in store for 2025, and I can't wait to share with you soon, even if that includes more mistakes. If you enjoyed this episode of Shame Free Gaming, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, my Patreon, and my Discord. I will link to all of the resources and games that I used on my Patreon page, and I will see you next time.